Welcome again to the 50th Annual Red Haven Award here with Anderson Noon Exchange. I'm proud to be an Exchangeite. I am the past president. I am not Jeremy Adams. I am not the current president of Anderson Noon Exchange. Jeremy had a work emergency and he had to take off out of here. And when you work for long-term care and there's an emergency in your building, you go. So that's what he had to do, and he came to me and said, would you fill in? I said, okay, I'm shy, but I'll do it. Y'all believe that? Y'all looked at me like, shy? Well, again, welcome. Enjoy, sit back, relax, and have fun. We're celebrating youth today. We have many here that we're celebrating with that have been a recipient. And we're thankful for all of that. So we're so thankful you're here. We have many people to introduce, much to do.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. So I'm Tom Snyder. Let me take this. So I'm Tom Snyder. Can you hear me? Okay, good. So I'm going to help you navigate. We've got two programs. We'd like you to take the one that says, where are they now? That's the first program. And we're going to ask the several of the people who have returned to join us this afternoon and say a word or two. I think all of our honorees are here, and you'll be meeting in a moment. This is really a great event. This is really one of the few times in the state that people honor the best of the student athletes. And I think you'll see on the wall to your right that actually it's a great history of what you've done over the past 50 years. Not only the best student athletes in Madison County, some of the best student athletes in the entire country. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to call, beginning with the most recent student athletes that have been recognized over the last 50 years, ask them to come forward and say just a word about themselves and to receive a recognition pin from Bonnie Clark. And the first one is 2016, Michaela McCurdy. So is Michaela here? I don't see Michaela, so, all right. Blaze Kelly. We'll give him a chance to say a word about what's Blaze doing now. Here's a slide over here.
Hi, I'm Blaze Kelly. I won this 3 years ago. I'm currently a student at DePaul University, DePaul with the W in Greencastle, and I hope to go to med school after that, so that's where I'm at right now.
Mackenzie Bowles, LaPel High School. Okay, these are people who thought they were going to be here, so Leah Steele, LaPel High School. Right here.
Hi, I'm Leah, and I won in 2011, so about 7 years ago. I graduated from Purdue about 3 years ago now, and I am now a nurse at Duke Hospital in North Carolina. So came up for this banquet. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much. We have one that we missed. Michaela, go back. Michaela McCurdy. I'm sorry, right here. She's here.
Oh, she's here. Michaela McCurdy.
Allison McCurdy. Is she the first one? Yeah, last year, the first one, Allison McCarty. McCarty.
Allison McCarty, Pendleton Heights High School.
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Hello, my name is Allison McCarty, and I won this last year. And I'm at Indiana University now. I just finished my freshman year. I'm majoring in biology and statistics, and I wanted to thank the Exchange Club for inviting us back, and I wanted to congratulate all the candidates this year and wish them best of luck next year.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm off. Okay. We did Trent Crandall. There we go. Now I'm back on track. So hopefully you're following along and reading about a little more detail on this. Trent is LaPel High School.
Hi, my name is Trent Crandall. I won this award 10 years ago now, so I'm starting to feel really old seeing all of you guys. I ended up going to Ball State University and got my exercise science degree, and then went to Indiana University and got my doctorate of physical therapy. And I work for a community hospital now out at the new health pavilion on Scatterfield as a physical therapist. So, and I live in Pendleton now, so I crossed enemy lines. So, and congrats to all the nominees. It's really awesome to be nominated. So.
Gregory Andrew Dern, 2001, Elwood High School. Oh, there you are, right there. Good.
I'm Greg Durham. Like I said, won in 2001, which seems like a long time ago. I went to the University of Notre Dame and then to medical school at the University of Michigan and did my training here at Indiana. And I practiced in Indianapolis, actually, at the Simon Cancer Center. So congratulations to all the candidates and good luck today.
Andrea Jennings Westfall, 2000, LaPel High School. Okay, not here. And here, the father of two winners, Joseph Lustig, father of Daniel and Jacob. Is he? You get to talk twice as long. Where are those boys?
Okay, that's what I'm. Okay,
that's what you wanna
I'm
know.
up here for.
Yeah, right.
Okay, Daniel lives in Eastern Pennsylvania, works for Enlight, and he helps create and market software for data software for companies. A few of his, shall we say, clients are some places you may never have heard of: Chase Manhattan, Bank of New York, and Vanguard Mutual Funds and things like that. He's been very successful there. And do you want me to go ahead and talk about the other son, or are you
Yes.
going to make me walk back and
No,
forth?
no. If you're proud of him.
Oh, I'm proud of him. Jake also received this award in 1991. And Jake is also in Eastern Pennsylvania and is an executive for Merck Industries and works in getting drugs approved by that place from the government that approves drugs.
FDA.
Yeah, thank you, the FDA. I could never spell that. Okay, so thank you very much. Good luck to the candidates.
Okay, get a couple pens.
Mr. Lustig.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Bonnie.
For your kids. Thank you.
Rachel Garner Young. 1996.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Rachel Garner Young. I won for Alexandria in 1996, and I've actually came full circle, and I am back at Alexandria teaching and coaching basketball currently.
1988, Daniel Combs, Anderson High School. Right over here.
Hi, I'm Daniel Combs, and I want to thank the Exchange Club for inviting us back. It's good to see a lot of these people. I'm impressed at how far some of these folks came. My wife and I had about a 1-minute commute here, so I appreciate you holding it in a convenient place for us. I'm currently the Chief of Emergency Medicine at St. Vincent Anderson here in town, and I want to thank Bonnie. I was feeling kind of old myself, but she was kind enough to sit us with a bunch of really old guys back there, so thank you.
1981, Roger Vandersnick, Frankton High School.
Thank you. I went to Rose-Hulman after graduating from Frankton, and after 15 years at Procter & Gamble, I made the move into the sports field, and after a number of places, I've returned home, returning to the Indianapolis Colts in October of this year. So it's been 35 years or so since I've been in Indiana, and it's a little surreal to see what's changed and, frankly, what's not changed. So it's a great pleasure to be back, and so really honored to be here, and thank you for everyone for putting on such a great event.
So is he going to start?
All indications are that he will.
Okay, that's good news. All right, buy your tickets.
Yes, if you want tickets, please see me.
Okay, 1978, Lynn Gray.
Thank you. I'm Lynn Gray. I was the first female recipient in 1978. I don't know why you're all talking about age. I was 10
No,
when I won. I'm a partner in the law firm of Johnson, Gray & Johnson in Franklin, Indiana, in Johnson County. And I want to thank Bonnie for all your hard work. I know how hard you work. And I want to thank my mother, who is still teaching school since 1969 at Pendleton Heights, where I went to school, and my coach, Mary Ruth, who came with me, and she's still coaching me up on the way up here. She said, get up there.
So he's going to get a chance to speak in a few minutes, but 1976, Doug Bradford, Madison Heights High School. Stand and be recognized. And we've got a pen for you. Yeah, there you go. And Jerry Klosser, 1975, Alexander Monroe High School.
Jerry Klosser, 1975, Alexandria High School. Went to Butler University and tried to play a little football and baseball. Quickly found out that that probably wasn't my calling. So I ended up in the business world, starting a truck line in 1977, and was fortunate enough to do well and sold it in 99, and then started an excavation company and with my son in 2000, and that's what I'm doing today in Indianapolis, Indiana. In the surrounding areas, we live in St. Paul, Indiana, have 4 kids, 5 grandchildren, another one on the way, and life couldn't be better. Thank you very much for inviting me back, and congratulations to all the nominees. It will change your life. You go this way.
Gregory Crosley, 1973, Pendleton High School.
You had the best picture up there. I loved it.
Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting us back. It is indeed an honor that is going to be bestowed on one of you candidates today. And since graduation from high school, I graduated from Purdue in veterinary medicine. I am a large animal veterinarian. Everybody tells me I'm like Dr. Pohl. I hope I'm better. And the other thing I noticed is that there's a progressive of the male candidates coming up here. There was a progressive hair loss that went on right along, and I'm glad to continue that tradition.
So Greg pointed out that the team put together, the Exchange Club put together a terrific display. And when we conclude, there'll be a reception afterwards and photos. And I'll remind you when we're finished. But you do have to look at this display of each year and the photos of each
the ones we
select.
could find.
Yeah, so it's great. So 1972, Stan Doherty, Alexandria Monroe High School.
Thank you. I was the first winner from Alexandria in 1972. Thank you for the invite back. It's been just a neat thing for me to look around and see a lot of people. I knew in 1972 a couple things. I was going to go into education and coach, and I've done that for 42 years. And am nearing retirement either this summer or next. I've been a head basketball coach for 25 years, 5 high schools in Central Indiana and at Goshen College. And as I said in the program, this award kind of gave me some confidence that this is what I was going to do. This was the right thing for me to do. So I knew in '72 I was going to do that. I also knew in 1972 I was going to marry my high school sweetheart, and Brenda is with me today. 43 years of marriage. Thank you.
In 1969, Anderson High School, our very first honoree and our keynote speaker today, Dr. Tom Mayer. Please stand to be recognized, receive your pen.
Thank you.
Good, okay. Now, your second book.
Can we recognize a couple people real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to turn it
Okay.
over to Bonnie.
We want to be sure to recognize a few people who are here with us today at our head table. We're very, very honored to have the national president of the National Exchange Club, Mr. Phil Howard.
You're calling him up to speak a little bit. Right?
Huh?
He's coming up to speak also.
Yeah, he will be speaking in a few minutes here. We have our Indiana District President. Currently, it is Brad Clapp, and Brad handles the whole state of Indiana. We have our Region 7 Vice President of the National Exchange Club, handles 4 states, 5, 6, growing, Jeff Young. And we're very pleased to have Charlie Braddock. Charlie is an attorney, but we know him as a past national president of the National Exchange Club, and in '92 and '93. And Charlie does it all. We're very happy to have Charlie here. Thank you. I'd also like to recognize Dave Eckstein. Dave, as you know, owned House of Trophies. And Dave put me on his committee many years ago, and I didn't know what I was in for. So, Dave, would you stand, please? We're very happy to have you here today. We have Mike Baumholt, am I right? Yes. Mike was athletic director for Elwood, and where did I find you, Mike?
Down at Hay Funeral Home in Elwood.
He's not a client. We're very, it's crazy when you start going around looking for people. Some of them are in our own backyard. Pendleton, Alexandria, Elwood, and some others were in Chile, Australia. So we really had a lot to do there. It seems like I have one more person to, oh yes. Former athletic head coach for Anderson High School, Mr. Norm Held, is here today too. Norm? So, a lot of familiar faces that many of you have known for many years, so we invite you to take time to say hello to them, and most certainly stay, if you can, for our reception afterwards.
So a little bit of information on President Phil Howard. Next week he leaves for the island of Hawaii. They're still having the Western Convention on the island. A eruption is no reason to cancel a meeting, right? So.
And Jeff Young is going with him.
And Jeff
so
Young's going with him for
fear.
protection. So at this time, we asked the candidates to come and take over the microphone and introduce their table. So that's part of the hazing process. No, okay, so, right. So, and we introduce them alphabetically by school, so you know when your turn is here, all right? So we'll have them come up, take the microphone, and then come up. And of course, that means that Blaine is first. So Blaine Kelly, Alexandria Monroe High School. She is a 3-sport athlete in volleyball, basketball, and tennis, earning 12 varsity letters, 4 in each sport. Please welcome Blaine Kelly.
Hi, today I have my dad, Bob, my mom, Sally, my sister, Shanna, my brother, Blaze, my basketball coach, or assistant coach, Rachel, my tennis coach and calculus teacher, Mr. DeVault, and my principal, Mr. Johns, and my athletic director, Mickey Hosier.
Megan Moran, Anderson High School. She is a two-sport athlete in volleyball and softball, earning 5 varsity letters, 3 in volleyball and 2 in softball. Megan? Oh, my goodness. Oh, okay.
She got caught on number 99. I heard that's really bad.
Okay, so watch for her so we make sure we understand. And we will also, I've got some long speeches to give here before she comes. Megan Simmet, is that correct? Megan Anderson Preparatory Academy. She is a 3-sport athlete in cross country, basketball, and track and field, earning a total of 12 varsity letters, 4 in each sport. Megan.
Hi, today I brought my mom, Becky, my athletic director, Bradford, and then my director, Steve White.
Aaron Litherland, Elwood High School. He is a 3-sport athlete in football, basketball, and baseball, earning a total of 11 varsity letters. 4 letters were earned in football, 3 in basketball, and 4 in baseball. Aaron?
Tonight I brought my baseball coach, Cody Harrison, my athletic director, Marty Wells, my girlfriend, Haley Crawford, my mom, Allison, my dad, Burt Leatherland, and Burt Leatherland. Yeah.
So very good. Anna Sperry, Frankton High School. She is a 3-sport athlete in volleyball and baseball, earning 3 varsity letters, 2 varsity letters in volleyball, 1 letter as a varsity baseball manager. Anna.
Hi, today I brought my mom, Beth, my dad, Steve, my athletic director, Mr. Bropson, and my principal, Mr. Granger.
Joseph Conrad, LaPel High School. He is an athlete in tennis and track, earning 6 varsity letters, 4 in tennis and 2 in track.
Yeah, today I brought my mom, Lisa, my dad, Bart, my grandma, Linda, principal, Chad, athletic director, Jimmy, and Leah Steele, which is the former winner that you met earlier.
Very good. Solomon Truitt, Liberty Christian School. He is a 2-sport athlete in soccer and track and field, earning 4 varsity letters in each sport.
Hi, today I brought my soccer coach, DJ Callahan, and my principal, Emma Lush. Also, my dad just walked in, so huzzah. He's Dr. Truitt. So just glad he could be here today. Also at my table is Judge Pankel, who is really cool. Just met him today. So, yeah.
And finally, Kate Calger, Pendleton Heights High School. She is a 2-sport athlete in soccer and track and field, earning 8 varsity letters, 4 letters in each in cross country and track and field. Kate.
Hi, today I brought my parents, Patrick and Sally Calger, my principal, Mr. Hall, the athletic director, Mr. Smith, my soccer coach, Mark Davey, and also the McCartys are sitting with us.
Okay, great. Let's give a big round of applause to our 8 candidates. So we'll send a text to Megan so she'll let us know when she's in her car. Okay, good. Okay, and then what we'd like to do next is call to the podium the sports reporter speaking on behalf of the Herald Bulletin. And So looks like Megan just walk in the room? Okay, so let's get her a moment to get to the table and then warn her about what's next. Okay. Okay, she did sit down. Okay, she's looking around to see who's at her table. So Megan, so we'd like you to come forward and introduce the people that are your guests at your table. So this is really Megan Moran. She's met her mom, all right? She is a two-sport athlete, volleyball and softball, earning 5 varsity letters, 3 in volleyball and 2 in softball, Anderson High School.
All right, so I'm supposed to introduce you at my table.
Yeah, tell us who came with you today.
Who is here with me today is my mom, Stephanie, my dad, Mike, not exactly sure who that is, my athletic director, Steve Schindler, my principal, Mr. Davis, and my grandparents, Bob and Naomi McCurdy.
Very good.
Am I good?
Looks like Great Graham sitting over there in that orange shirt. Okay, great, very good. And this had to be just about as much fun as an AP exam. Okay, good. So now we'll have Rob Hunt, who is almost to his first anniversary at the Herald Bulletin, to come and say a few words about the participation of the Herald Bulletin in this activity. Thanks. Please welcome Rob.
I'm on deadline, so I'll be brief. First of all, very happy to be here. This is my first time at the Red Haven. Can you hear me? Yeah. Am I going through? This is my first time for this event. I'm very happy to be here for such a special event, the 50th anniversary, and 8 really fantastic candidates, and really looking forward to seeing who the winner is. But you're all definitely worthy. Very happy to be part of it.
And representing the mayor, a good friend of ours, Samantha Pancol, who's the public information officer from the office of the mayor of Anderson. And her father came here today also, Judge Pancol. So Samantha, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. My name is Samantha Pancol, and I'm the public information officer for Mayor Broderick. I'm not only here just to bring my dad to this event, but I'm here representing Mayor Broderick. He apologizes that he can't be here today. He's at a conference out of town. Part of my job is going places with the mayor, taking pictures, things like that, basically following him around, and he has a very, very busy schedule. And I'm telling you, I am so thankful that I follow him around and not these nominees, because their schedules are insane. I was reading this handbook, and I can't believe, every student in here, every young woman and young man in here has over a perfect GPA. They excel in athletics. They excel in their community. It's amazing, and I'm so thankful that we have such great examples for the children in our community. Yeah. On behalf of the mayor, he put together a proclamation, and this is going to go to the Anderson Noon Exchange Club in honor of the 50th annual Red Haven Award ceremony. I will read it to you now. Whereas the Anderson Noon Exchange is celebrating the 50th annual Red Haven Award, named in honor of Orville Red Haven, former president of the Anderson Noon Exchange Club. This award is given to a high school student in our county for exemplifying the highest level of athletic excellence, academic achievement, and community leadership. And whereas 8 high school students, Joseph Conrad, Kate Calger, Blaine Kelly, Aaron Litherland, Megan Moran, Megan Simmet, Anna Sperry, and Solomon Truitt, have been nominated for this prestigious award and should be proud and honored to represent their schools and themselves in such a distinguished manner. And whereas winning the Red Haven Memorial Award is no easy feat, performing at high level on the field, track, or court, as well as in the community and in the classroom, is extremely difficult and deserves to be recognized. And whereas the City of Anderson wishes to thank these 8 nominees, as well as the Anderson Noon Exchange Club, for the leadership and excellence they have shown their community and fellow citizens. And now, therefore, I, Mayor Thomas Broderick Jr., by virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor of the City of Anderson in the state of Indiana, do hereby proclaim May 15th, 2018 as Anderson Noon Exchange Red Haven Award Day in the City of Anderson, and invite all citizens to note this occasion and join in the celebration. Thank you so much, and congratulations. Okay. And this is for you, too. Yes. It's you? Okay.
So you can tell that Samantha is a vocalist. She knows how to hold that microphone. Good. So we have two wonderful speakers who are past winners. Let me first introduce Doug Bradford. By the way, you may have guessed that Doug is the son, he said the oldest, but I'll never tell, the oldest son of the famous coach from Madison County, Paul Bradford. We'd like to welcome Doug. Graduated from Madison Heights High School, won the 8th Annual Red Haven Memorial Award in 1976, attended Indiana State University during the era of Larry Bird and graduated in 1980. Spent his professional career working for Price Waterhouse as a senior tax manager, then Ball Corporation for 25 years. Retired in 2015, spends his free time with his wife, 2 daughters, 2 stepchildren, and a very cute first grandson. Mix in a little golf, reading, and consulting with Ball Corp. Doug keeps himself very, very busy. Please welcome Doug Bradford to the podium.
Thank you, Tom. Now you know I'm one of the old ones. I got to have these things. Hopefully I won't have to use them too much. Thank you, Noon Exchange Club, for inviting me and the prior winners today. I think it's just awesome that this award is continued. I think it's gotten more stature as the years have gone on, and it's in honor of a great sports writer that was here in Anderson. And this community actually was blessed with a lot of good sports writers over the years. Don Cronin, Mike Chappell, who had a great career covering the Colts later on, Jim Bailey, Rick Taberball, and I know I've missed a few others, but the newspaper here does a great job of covering sports. I've lived in Colorado the last 20 years. They're awful at it. So congratulations to this community, and again to the Noon Exchange Club. I'd like to personally congratulate all the nominees. You should be very proud of representing your schools, as I was back then. I'm sure your parents are just busting with pride. So congratulations. This is just the first step. I'll talk about you kids later on. I got worried when my brother and Bonnie talked to me about speaking today. They said, we're going to have a special occasion, 50th anniversary. And I thought, oh, Lord. I started doing the math. I said, I could be one of the oldest ones. And then Tom stepped up and decided to come. So I feel a lot younger, Tom. I think this county has been great for sports and education. And when I grew up here and played sports here, it was a dogfight, no matter if you played a city school or a county school. And I don't know if you guys know it, and I think I'm right, but does anybody know what most state titles, what sport state titles are won by this county? Golf. In the late 50s and early 60s, Madison Heights and Anderson won many golf titles. Many of the players played here at Edgewood Country Club. Many of them played over at Anderson Country Club, which I think still exists. And then the Anderson fans changed the border, and Edgewood became part of Anderson High School, North Edgewood. And then there was a combination of great golfers back then. I was trying to think about what to talk about today. I'm a CPA by career. Most people say, what'd you do during your career? I said, I was a tax geek. I did a lot of international tax planning for Ball Corporation for the last 25 years. It was a great job. I got to spend time in over 17 countries, 5 continents. Not bad for a little guy from Anderson, Indiana. But I thought, I don't think they're going to be interested in hearing about international tax strategies. So I'm going to talk something that was near and dear to my heart just for a few minutes before I talk about all the great kids you got here today. Thinking about this county, and I'm thinking about the sports, we've had a lot of tremendous athletes. We've had a lot of professional athletes. We had Ray Talbert, Bobby Wilkerson, Ken Johnson, who played for the Bengals. Jumpy Johnny Wilson was a great athlete from this town. Mr. Klosser's nephew, who's a descendant, I watched him play in Colorado when he was with the Rockies. Sean Tigg, who played at Anderson High School, his son has had a great NBA career. So you think about this little county, and they've produced a lot of great athletes. We've also produced a lot of great citizens. So we've got doctors in this large group. You know, Tom's a doctor, and I heard other doctors, and I thought, oh gosh, all these guys are saving lives, and all I did was save taxes. But what I really want to talk about today, this state, when I left it 20 years ago to go to Colorado, they thought basketball was a great thing out there. And my kids went to a high school that was very successful. So I decided to go to one of their basketball games. When I get to the game, and there's 5 rows of bleachers on each side. I thought, oh my gosh, what's going on here? When I grew up in Anderson, in a single night, 1976, if Anderson and Highland and Madison Heights were playing on the same night, there were 14,000 people sitting in gyms in the city of Anderson. 14,000. We'd sell out, Highland would sell out, Anderson would sell out. And I know LaPel, and I know Ellick, and I know Pendleton were full too. So it's kind of tremendous. Frankton, I'm not going to leave out all the schools. I'm not going to make that mistake. But it was tremendous. When I was a senior, we had 3 teams. I think Coach Held walked out, I think. I was going to talk about him in a minute here. We had 3 teams in the city who were ranked in the top 10 during the season. And I'm not sure too many cities have, and especially our size, have top 10 teams. But you know what the greatest thing about that was? The county schools were great that year. Alexandria was great. We had Hefner, the team that Hefner played on. They were fantastic. And that was a dogfight playing those guys. Pendleton had a really good team that year. So I always just was amazed when I left this area. I think the lack of competition, the lack of attention the communities put towards the athletes and the student athletes as well with this award. We had some great coaches. I wish Coach Held was back in here during my time. At the time, we had Garth Combe was at Alexandria. He was a great coach and what a competitor. I played softball against him later in life. He's a competitor up till the last days. Dally Hunter was at LaPel. Then we, of course, had Phil Buck, Norm Held, and Bob Fuller. Now, Bob, he was the quiet one of the bunch. All he did was teach zone defenses, and he wrote a book about it. Now, Norm, where the heck is he? I wish he was in here. I'm going to make fun of Norm and Phil because they were great coaches, and I think most of you remember and know them. But I always like to make fun of Norm because he'd always have that towel. Remember the towel? And he'd bite on that towel during the game, and he'd suck on that towel. And then he'd always teach these guards that he had to play the belly-up defense, and I couldn't stand it. It was the toughest defense I ever had to play against in my high school career, as well as the zone from Bob Fuller. Then you had Coach Buck, who was the stomper and the elbower. Now, you probably never noticed, but when you sat by him, Phil, you do something wrong. Ray, what are you doing? Quit that. and Ray, like, you know, all 6'9" of him, go cower. And then we'd have sprints at the end of practice, and people thought you run hard doing sprints at the end of practice. Well, that really wasn't the time you sprinted. You sprinted when you got out of the huddle, because you wanted to sprint to the end of the bench so you wouldn't have to sit by Phil. Because Phil would go like this the whole game, and he'd sit and he'd elbow you, he'd yell at you. So the greatest place was down at the end of the bench. We had some great teams in this city, and I can't believe that we don't have more state championship basketball teams out of this city. We had some unbelievable teams. We had some great teams, I think in your area, Rod Freeman area, they had a great team in 67, 68. Madison Heights had a really good team that year as well with Reganold and the Rector boys. Then we get to the early 70s, and we had the team with Bobby Wilkerson at Madison Heights, Clarence Smith, Lou Cotton, Joe Minnick, Steve Porter played on that team. And we got to the Final Four, but didn't pull it off against Gary West in the afternoon. Then we had one of the other most tough basketball teams, I think, out of this area was the year with in Anderson High School with Roy Taylor and Harry Stamp and Tony Marshall, Jeff Jeunesse, Steve Douglas, and others. I don't know how that team ever lost. They were outstanding. And then we had later teams with Troy Lewis at Anderson High School. We had the team I played with my senior year, and that year we had 3 teams in the top 10. Highland went undefeated throughout the regular season, and they lost to Marion in the final of the semi-state. My team was the 3rd best Madison Heights team on record. We were 18-5. Well, we lost 3 games in the city. We lost 2 to Highland, and we lost 1 to Anderson. That tells you how tough it was. We had close games with Ellick that year. We had close games with Pendleton. Highland ended up doing a great job that year. Then about 5 or 6 years later, we have another great set of teams come through here, and my brother played on one of those. And David, his team, his junior year, was one of the most fun teams I've ever watched in high school basketball. They had Brad Duncan, Winston Morgan, Stu Robinson, who went on and had a great college, both having a great college career at IU, and Jeff Ritter and Jeff Howard. And I thought for sure they were going to go to the Final Four, where lo and behold, Norm and his team have a great game and beat David, and they lose in the sectional. So the next year, David's team, Highland's the great team in the city the next year. And they get through the year, and they've lost, I think, 2 games. One was to David's team early in the year. David's team, record-wise, wasn't that good that year. They ended up probably something like 13-7, 14-7. David was the center at 6'2". But he did his job. Well, what happened that year? Highland, the great team, and Anderson's going to go to the Final Four. Did they make it out of the sectional? No. My brother's team upset them, and they got to the final game of the semi-state. Mike Chappell, who was the sports writer at the time after Dave's team upset Highland, and he goes, wow, he goes, this is just awful. I can't believe it. And I go, what's so awful about it? He goes, oh, Highland, I feel sorry for him. I said, well, I didn't hear you feel sorry for Dave's team last year when Anderson upset him. So this whole town has been just great with competitiveness. We've combined the schools now. Now we have Liberty Christian and Anderson Preparatory Academy, and then all the county schools are still good. We've gone to a class system, and I think what that proved is how good our county schools were, because they've won state titles since then. I still keep track, even though I'm in Colorado, I still keep track of what's going on. I think Liberty Christian won a state title a year ago in basketball. Frankton's won one, I think. So everybody's done great. LaPel won one, I think, not too long ago. I'm going to change and just talk. I only get 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. My dad had this speaking gene in the family. So I got that gene as well as all the genes that carry the hereditary diseases. So my brother and sister didn't get those. I want to talk to the kids for a minute, and then I'll let this go because this day is really about them. Your life is ahead of you, and I want you to realize, if you haven't already, you've already laid a solid foundation to go forward. It's not easy to do what you've done. You've got to balance athletics, and there's much more going on with athletics these days with all the amateur sports clubs and stuff you play. Back when I played, you played the college, the high school sport, and you were done. You didn't have club ball and all those things. You've done that, and you've also studied, and you've gotten good grades. And then I read these resumes of you kids, and my gosh, you're involved in community activities and everything else. I don't know when you have time to do anything. Well, let me tell you something. It's a great skill you've learned. Because when you get out in a career, whether it's athletics, whether it's teaching, whether it's being a doctor or in business like I was, you have to be well organized. And then you all have a family at home too. So you got to juggle a lot of things. And I think you've learned a really good skill set there that you need to continue on for your careers and whatever you choose. Keep your good study habits. It's hard. It was hard for me. I wasn't naturally smart. I had to study hard. So I think all of you need to understand it's not going to get easier. It's going to get harder. So you got to continue to put the effort in, and you're going to do just as well going forward as you have now. You got a good head on your shoulders. Be smart. Make good decisions. In a day of social media, please be careful. You know, there's a lot of good kids that have gotten in trouble by stuff they post. So I didn't grow up in that era, but as a parent, I just caution you to be smart about things. I give you career advice, but I don't know you that well. The career advice I tell you is pick something you enjoy. You know, I ended up being a tax guy. I like numbers. I like math. So I had a great time doing it my whole career. I enjoyed it so much I even go back in retirement now and work for them a little bit when they want me to. But do something you enjoy. That way you got a passion behind it all the time. My daughter is a teacher in Wilmington, North Carolina. She's complaining about how much money she makes. I'm like, honey, I go, think about what you're doing. You're teaching kids. You're teaching the next generations. And I go, do you enjoy it? She goes, yeah, I enjoy it. I go, well, then you're fine. That's all you really need to do. So enjoy college. Work hard, but enjoy college and enjoy life. And I'm going to leave you with a quote. And I hope you young kids know who this famous person is. If I can find it. There it is. All right, this famous quote is from Ferris Bueller. Does everybody know who Ferris Bueller is? Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could just miss it. With that, congratulations and good luck, everybody.
All right. Good. Phil Howard would like you to come up and say a few words, please. Phil Howard, National Exchange Club president, before he goes to Hawaii.
Did you notice how Bonnie just slipped that in? Get Phil up there. I've learned already that to keep Miss Bonnie happy is probably a good thing. So I'm going to watch how many minutes I speak. It'll be brief. Something came across my mind as I've been sitting here listening to all these young people. You know, I used to think I was pretty good. I had 11 letters in athletics. I had a 3.94 GPA. I worked with the church. I went on mission trips. I can't even get on the program. These kids are so good. You're so advanced. That is amazing to me. They've gotten beyond perfect. I didn't know that was possible, but these 4 4s, 4 6s, and all the other things are just amazing, and they speak so much for you. But I think the really impressive part to me about this award and this day, number one, it's impressive to me that a tradition such as this award has managed to survive for 50 years. That shows the importance and the respect that's given. And listening to the past recipients certainly shows you their feelings and what it's done in their lives. It's added a little something to their lives that they still fall back on and are proud of. You're coming along. It gives you something. Someone already mentioned it briefly. But if I were you, I'd be looking at that and going, okay, I'm doing okay so far. As long as I keep things going in the same direction, I can do it. It should give you so much confidence going out in the world that there's nothing to fear. Set your mind towards the goals you want to achieve and don't accept anything less. I'm very privileged to be here today. It's my first time to be at this event. I'll tell you that being the president of the National Exchange Club is kind of a good gig. The pay's not great. We're all volunteers, but the benefits are wonderful. I get to come to things like this. We operate all over the country. We have, somebody mentioned, about 650 clubs, close to 20,000 members. And the reason we exist is to do things like this. Our mission is to inspire our communities to be better places to live and work. That's what Exchange is all about. We can't do it. We can't make the community do anything. We can't do it for the community. But if through events like this and honoring our youth, then we can inspire our community to keep this award going for another 50 years and to keep honoring our kids that have come up, then we've done our job. This celebration and award ceremony is very unique. One of our areas of specific service is youth. We love to work with the young people, and we have specific programs designed to do that. This one is unique. They've taken the youth program and added a little something local to that. They've made it a signature event in this community, and they've given it to the community and have kept it going and are saying, here it is. So not only do you have a fine program, but as far as I know, it's the only one like it. I'm sure there are others that may be similar, but I'd be willing to bet after seeing and participating and being blessed by the events and the people of today, I would venture to say there's none that exceed this program of all of them out there. So keep it up. It's wonderful. Miss Bonnie, thank you and everyone else had a part of any kind. We even thank Jeff Young. I'm sure he was in the way more than he was helping, but we'll thank Jeff anyway. And he looks all innocent like he doesn't know why. But thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be a part of this. I've met most of you. I've met our first recipient. I met our first girl that's back there and a lot of others. But if I haven't met you, I'd like to. So I'll be here the rest of the day. Please come up and let's talk. Thank you.
Thanks, President Howard. If you've got this booklet out while you're thinking about it, you can turn to the inside back cover. And I'd say this for parents, I'd say this for past recipients. If you live in a town with an Exchange Club or if you live here, think about joining the Exchange Club and helping this, continue on for another 50 years. This is something that it's the work of the people that were introduced earlier that have made this carry on for all these years. The work of this club is the only thing that has caused this to be the leadership activity that it is today. So that's it. And a great way to lead into our keynoter, Dr. Tom Mayer. So we want to welcome him, a graduate of Anderson High School in 1969, the first winner of the Red Haven Memorial Award, football and wrestling and baseball, 9 letters. Graduated from the high school, attended Hanover College, played football there, earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in theology, biology, and chemistry. Went on to Duke University School of Medicine, earning his medicine degree. He's CEO of Best Practices, his own practice, medical director of the Studer Group for over 10 years, serves as medical director for the NFL Player Association, where his leadership role has transformed the care of athletes. He'll say a few words about that. But if you've seen the movie Concussions, you know, that's been part of his life. And, you know, all of us who have been involved with football with youth and watched our kids play through high school, and I've got a college football grandson, that we all think about that every day. Widely recognized as one of the nation's foremost experts in healthcare leadership and management, service excellence, physician accountability. We're very honored. He flew in from Washington last night that he would come and join us. Thanks to the persistence of Bonnie and her team and the persistence of his executive assistant, the two of them bugged him until he said, okay, I'm going to get on a plane and come out there. So welcome, please, Dr. Tom Mayer.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You know, I have to say what an honor it is to be here. I do remember very specifically when I was nominated from a group of friends, and I'll introduce those friends to you in a few minutes, in 1969. I couldn't believe that I was the nominee from Anderson High School, much less that I won the award. I would just say it's a good thing I won it then, because I wouldn't even compete now. I mean, what a talented group of people. It's an incredible honor to be back in my hometown on a day like this, to honor these young athletes, their families, their coaches, and all their teammates as well. I'll say a little bit more about that. I want to thank Exchange Club nationally. What a phenomenal organization. You know, all you have to do is look behind me and say unity for service. There's nothing more important than pulling people together and doing so for the benefit of other people. Very critical that organizations like that and the role that they play and will continue to play in our society as we move forward. I also want to thank the Anderson Noon Exchange Club for inviting me, and especially Bonnie. Bonnie, please stand one more time. Say hello. None of this happens without this young lady. She called, and despite the stories, she told me it was the 50th anniversary, and before she even asked, I said, I'll be there. And that's because I know by reputation what she's like. You ever had a dog on your leg? You know what that? Sorry. You're not videotaping this, are you? Oh no, there is one back. Cut that out of the tape, if you would, please. But thank you for putting this all together and for convening all the previous winners that we could. I think, you know, what a thrilling part of the program to hear from others and to read, if you haven't read in the program, the effects it's had on their lives. And I'll make a few comments about that in just a few minutes. To the nominees, you are all winners. You know, somebody's going to come up and pick up this award, but I wouldn't pay any attention to that at all. You are all winners. What you have done is incredibly impressive. Your teachers, your coaches, and your teammates, I'll say a few more words about that, recognize who you are and the kind of person you are and the kind of person you will be. So it's a shame in some respects that we even have to have a single person win this award, because you all deserve to win that award without any question. As Ben Franklin said, well done is better than well said. And your lives so far have been a testament to that. It's not what you've said, it's what you've done. You put your efforts, you put your service to others exactly where it should be, and followed not just statements, but backed it up with the kinds of deeds that need to be done. And you'll see some similarities. Doug and I didn't coordinate our talks together, but there's some similar points here. I'd also remind the older people like me in the audience of what Oscar Wilde said, which said, I'm not young enough to know everything. You have to think about that one a little bit. It's like my father one time told me, if you're throwing dirt, you're losing ground. It took me about 5 years on that one. And I came back. Did you say that? I remember that now. So thank you. We're jealous, really, not of your being nominated and winning, because as I said, you're all winners, but of what you will accomplish. You have so much runway in front of you in terms of things you will do in your life, people that you will impact in your life, and all those challenges that you'll face. So forgive us if we smile, but also think that we're a little jealous of what you are and what you do and how you do it. I will tell you, both based on my career as an athlete and my career in the National Football League Players Association, that you have an advantage that others just don't have. And it's not your skill, it's not your ability, it's not your tenacity, it's not your integrity, as important as all those things are. It's your teamwork. It's your ability to work together as teams, to lead teams, and to follow in teams as well. Because for the future of the rest of your life, teams is what will determine success in our nation and, frankly, in our world. And remember that it's not just leadership, it's followership. I think I have actually at work on a book called Too Many Leaders, Too Few Followers. I think that as leaders of teams, as leaders of the services that you've done, as leaders of the student groups that you've done, that's an important concept, that whatever you do in life, and particularly for the next phase of your life, are going to be important. And remember your teammates. I mean, they've been with you every step of the way. They're why you're here. That your success is their success. And that's something I think we all have to remember over time. Speaking of being with you at every step of the way, would the parents of these student athletes please stand so we can recognize you? Yeah, got to stand up. Stay up for a minute if you would, please. So take a look at these folks, these athletes, and remember, you know, these are the ones that washed your uniform, that folded it, that drove you to practice, that were there for every success and for every failure, that dried your tears when you were just a bankrupt because you'd lost a game or didn't play well, and they patted you on the butt and sent you back in, and then they went in their own room and cried their eyes out for you. Am I right? I'm right. I'm definitely right. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for the gift that you parents have given to this community, because the gift of these young men and women is truly that, a gift to the community. And time they spent with us and time they spent with the others is time away from you often. And obviously in college and professional school, that gets more and more. The coaches and parents, could you please stand for a moment? I mean, coaches and teachers, sorry. That was it. There we go. You know, I would tell you that when Dwight Eisenhower finished his second term as president, unparalleled success, not a single soldier was killed in battle during those 8 years. The economy was bursting. They asked him, how did all this happen? And Eisenhower looked at the interviewer and said, it didn't just happen. And trust me, these teachers and coaches, it didn't just happen. These athletes became what they are because of your sacrifices. So thank you very much. I'd also remind you, and actually I just thought of it, but the great Henry Adams once said, a teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence ends. And that's certainly true of all you teachers and coaches in the room. You know, these talks are supposed to be about success. And I will tell you briefly that if 50 years from now, you're sitting in any room, particularly one like this, and are honored by the presence of the friends who came to honor me, you will be a success in life. Let me tell you a little bit about them, because each of them should have won the Red Haven Award instead of me. And if you don't mind standing when I call your name, please do. Kevin Lane. Kevin was my best at Meadowbrook Elementary School, and frankly, the first friend that I remember. One of the best shortstops and switch hitters in Anderson High School history, and is one of the only people other than Rob who can say he had Red Haven's job. He's a great friend, a great father, and I really appreciate you coming. Thank you, Kevin. Rod Freeman. Doug mentioned him earlier. Rod, a classmate of mine, one of the only people who was drafted by both the National Football League, the NBA, and even the ABA at that time. A great friend, and more importantly, someone who really has a deep, deep appreciation of other people. For those of you, if there were any, that was his inauguration into the Indiana High School Basketball Hall of Fame, Rod took the time to your point about the number of people. You think about it, there's 9,000 people at the Wigwam. Well, there weren't 9,000 students or 9,000 parents around. And Rod took the time to thank the community of Anderson and Madison County for coming to those games. I don't know anyone who would have taken that level of gratitude. And I will say, like everybody else's parents, his parents always welcomed us in. There was always a meal, they just took care of us. And the one thing I would say is, for you athletes, as you move through your lives, as you develop families, have that kind of family. Have that kind of house where people are felt to be welcome, even if you've never even seen them before. So Rodney, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Mike Woodruff. Mike was we discovered 16 millimeter films of the 1969 Anderson, Indiana Indians, and we found out that Mike, as a point guard, didn't just throw the ball in deep to Rodney. He was a great passer. He was a great shooter, and he'll show you those tapes afterwards if you'd like to see them edited. He was also not just a basketball player, but also played next to me in the outfield when Gary Erskine pitched and Steve Voss pitched, and Steve is here as well. So thanks, Woody. I would also say Woody is. He's had some medical issues in the family, and all of us have been through that to varying degrees. But he always has a smile, and I can tell you, he never complains about anything. He always makes the day brighter. You know, when I see his cell phone pop up, I'm always happy to hear. So thanks, Wood. I appreciate it. Mike Armstrong. Mike's probably the best right tackle that ever played for the Indians. I played center, and he was 2 steps down. Great athlete, also a great wrestler. And what'd you wrestle, 154 or something like that? No, that's all right. He wrestled a 180 and just a great wrestler. But I'll tell you this, you don't know anybody who's faced more adversity in your life than Mike Armstrong has. And he has stared it down. There's nobody I admire more, Mike, than you, because of the way you've done it, with grace, with dignity, with tenacity, but most of all with humor. So thanks. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you coming. Steve Voss, I did not know was going to be here, but Steve was the other end of the duo of Erskine and Voss. And boy, you never saw 2 better high school pitchers than Gary Erskine and Steve Voss. And you know, when we'd be in a tournament, people would feel like, wow, at least we don't have to face Erskine. And Steve Voss would come out and think, where's Erskine? We'd like to face him. Great man. Thanks, Steve. The great poet, Irish poet, William Butler Yeats said, "Say where man's glory most begins and ends, and say my glory was I had such friends." Thanks, guys. I love you. Thank you for coming. So, Bonnie and the committee asked me to give you some advice and tell you some stories. So the only advice I've got for you guys is don't take advice from somebody like me. Don't do it. I probably had more bail money than scholarship money at both Hanover and at Duke, and I was at full rides on both. So I will tell you, read a book by William Faulkner. And the book is called The Reivers. And I can tell, but most of the audience has never heard of that. And it is the last book that he wrote. It did win the Pulitzer Prize. And it's about, as you would expect, Mississippi. But it's the most accessible book he wrote by far. And a reiver, if you don't know, is a river pirate, a rapscallion, a ne'er-do-well. So that pretty much describes my friends and I to a T. So if you don't want to read the book, the movie had Steve McQueen as the lead actor. It is well worth seeing. So I will tell you a couple quick stories. The great Danish writer Isak Dinesen, whose real name was Baroness Karen von Blixen. For those of you who saw Out of Africa, the movie with Meryl Streep and Robert Redford, it's about her, about Baroness Karen von Blixen, who said all things in life can be born if you can put them into a story or tell a story about them. So become a storyteller, and I'll tell you a couple quick ones. The first one is a story about possibility. In 1963, when Kevin and I were in the Meadowbrook Little League All-Stars, we won the city championship. And Anderson, Madison County, has always kept this entity, instead of having an all-star team representing the entire city, which are ones that end up in Williamsport, It was every neighborhood. And we were on the Little League All-Stars that won the city championship. Big deal. Put us on a fire truck, Anderson, Indiana. Of course, it was a Howe fire truck. I don't think that company even exists anymore. And drove us around town. But at the end of the year, we had a banquet. And the banquet was at a restaurant that doesn't exist anymore called Linder's on the Point. And we went to Linder's, and we heard this wonderful speaker from Anderson get up and talk about the message he wanted us to have. And the message he wanted us to have is, if you can dream it, you can do it. That sounds fairly simplistic until you realize what this guy's story was. But his point was, anything you think you can do, you can accomplish, even if you don't know how. And the reason it resonated with us is that gentleman had, until a few years before, held the World Series strikeout record, 16 strikeouts, okay? He was the pitcher, by the way, not the batter. You're keeping score here. And the kid who broke that was Sandy Koufax. And the gentleman who gave us that talk is Carl Erskine. Carl Erskine still lives in this town. And boy, I'll tell you, for all the athletes, you have a chance, go see him. Go hear his story, because he'll tell you, why was it so easy to accept Jackie Robinson onto the Brooklyn Dodgers? And the answer, he had 2 words. Anybody know what they were? Johnny Wilson. Johnny Wilson, because he'd gone to high school with Johnny Wilson, a white man and a black man in a town in the 40s where that wasn't always that easy to accept, and made that easy for him because of where he came from. And the reason I tell that story is that not just for the possibilities in front of you, but that you will leave this county. You will leave the towns you came from. But what you grew up as will never leave you, no matter where you go. If you go to Duke, if you go anywhere in the country, the fact of the matter is it will stay with you. And I learned at Duke University that there were some pretty smart people in my medical school class, and I wasn't one of them. I can, what do you call the person who graduates last in his medical school class? And the answer is doctor. And the reason I know that is because I did graduate last in my medical school class. But my point is, the character, the integrity, the teamwork that you learn here will benefit you no matter where you go, and that's what will make you most competitive as you think about that. I tell you a story about Red Haven. I was actually, as some of the folks at our table, interviewed by Red Haven. And the one I remember is when Kevin Wood and I were playing, the Indians were playing Lafayette Jeff for the North Central Conference title in baseball. Both teams were undefeated, so whoever won this game was going to win the title. Some of you remember the North Central Conference was one of the dominant conferences in the state. Lots of state championships came out of there. And we had Gary Erskine pitching for us, and Lafayette Jeff had a pitcher named Greg Boning. And Greg went on to pitch for the White Sox. He was that good. And for some reason, I was a power hitter, usually hit either 3 or 5. Kevin usually hit in the cleanup spot. Coach Barnett, Don Barnett, decided I was going to hit second. Mike Woodruff, who is his nephew, I guess it was, went to him and said, Coach, you can't hit him there. He's either going to hit a home run or he's going to strike out. That's not what you do with a 2-hitter. Barney said, well, I just got a feeling. So bottom of the 6th, and score still 0-0. There have only been a couple base runners. First time I was up, this kid threw me a curveball, and I'm telling you, he might as well have just dropped it right down. Somehow I took a wild swing, and it trickled into center field. So coming into the 6th inning, we'd only had 1 hit, and that was it. Gary Erskine was the first hitter, and he walked. And I got up there, and I'm thinking, I'm not facing another curveball. That is not going to happen. So I was kind of digging my way into the batter's box, and, scuffing and scuffing. And some of you can tell what I was doing. I was erasing the front of the batter's box, because if you haven't played baseball or softball, if you contact the ball out of the batter's box, you're out, okay? So I erased the front of the batter's box completely. And I got as far up, man, I could see the eyebrow hairs on that pitcher. And he threw a fastball. I swear to this day, I never saw it. And somehow it hit right in the center of the bat. I remember the shortstop jumped for it because he thought he could catch it. And at Crawford Field was 375 feet to left center field, and it was still going up when it went over that 375 sign. Okay, and after the game, we went ahead and won the game. And this sounds like a story about me. It's not about me at all. After the game, Red Haven walks up to me, and he said, "That was quite a swing." I said, "I never saw it." Couldn't tell you. Didn't feel it, none of that stuff. And then he smiled, and he looked at me and goes, "You were pretty close to the pitcher, weren't you?" So he had observed that. He had seen from up in the press box what was going on. And all I would tell you is, in the spirit of Red Haven, pay attention. Just look at things and observe things that you didn't expect to see, because that's the kind of person that does that. A couple very quick stories about the National Football League. I won't bore you with a lot of details. I wanted to play football since I was in the NFL, since I was a little kid. Dick Butkus was my hero, and for a long time I swore I was going to name my first kid Zonka. After I didn't do that. My wife, who could not be here today, instructed me that was not going to happen. And trust me, like many of you here, when it comes to my wife, I outkick my coverage by a good bit. A good bit. Maureen's the most wonderful woman I've ever met, person I've ever met. It turns out I didn't make it in the NFL. I had played at Hanover, got injured in the senior year. I ended up going to free agent camps for both the Vikings and the Bears, and was offered a chance to go to training camp with the Bears, but I had a ticket in my pocket, and that ticket was an admission to Duke University's medical school. I thought that, gosh, except for the fact that I'm too small, too slow, too stupid, and not talented enough, I think I could be a heck of an NFL player. So I thought I had a little more potential as a doctor. Fast forward to August 1st, 2001, Corey Stringer, a tackle for the Vikings, died of heat stroke. Heat stroke, 2001. I mean, you'd be written up on charges if you were a trainer, if you were a coach, if you were a team physician for a high school team, let alone the National Football League. I got a call from Gene, and Gene said, "You got to step up. You got to become the medical director for the NFL Players Association." And they'd never had one before. That job had never existed before. Why did Gene Upshur ask me? The answer is not because I was smart, not because I was talented, and certainly not because I was good looking. And trust me, when it comes to baldness, I have taken it to a different level. I understand that. I always say I had hair when I needed hair, and I wore ties when I needed ties. I don't need either one anymore. He did it because we were best friends. His youngest, Daniel, and my youngest, Greg, were our best friends. Daniel was over at the house this weekend to see Greg, because Greg was back in town. He trusted me, and not because of my medical qualifications, but because we were friends, because we had been through things together. And I'll tell you that the first meeting that I ever went to at 280 Park Avenue at that time was the headquarters of the National Football League. We walked in, and there were 32 team physicians. There were 32 head athletic trainers. There were 4 general managers, none from the Colts. There were the 4 owners and the then commissioner of the National Football League, Paul Tagliabue. Gene and I and one other person, the president of the union, Trace Armstrong at that time, walked in to this sea of people. And I'll never forget, Gene turns around and looks around and says, "We may be outnumbered, but we'll never be outmanned." And I would just say to you that when you think about that, that's a metaphor that's worth remembering. I would also tell you, if you have a choice in your life, and you will have choices in your life, where you have to choose between power and influence. And I would tell you, choose influence every time. The reason is, if you have influence, if you have the influence of your teammates, of your classmates, of the people that you serve, in my case, the 2,000 player patients, because to me, they're all patients. Every player in the National Football League is injured. It's a 100% injury rate. That's the nature of the game, despite all the changes that we have made. But if you have that power, then you will, that's more power than anyone else could have, because you have the influence of the people that you serve. So when you are finding yourself outmanned or outwomaned, then remember, that's not the point. The point is that you'll be able to take care of it because you've got the integrity, you've got the skill, and you've got the teamwork skills to be able to do that. I'd close with this thought. Again, we didn't coordinate this. This just happens to be the truth. When I raised Maureen and I raised our 3 young boys, they're now men, but when they were younger, I used to take them when I was in town. Every day that I was in town, I'd drive them to school, because they went to the same school, K through 12, and until Josh, our oldest, was old enough to drive, I'd drive him, get him out of the truck, and I always said precisely the same thing to them every day they went to school. And that is one more step in the journey of discovering where your deep joy intersects the world's deep needs. I swear I said this to them. They prefer to take the bus. Wouldn't you? I mean, you might tolerate that from your mom, but not from your dad, of all things. But my point was very simple, and that is to say, don't start with the world's deep needs. The world's deep needs are infinite, they're unknowable, it's immeasurable. Start every day with your deep joy. And let me tell you something that you may not want to know, and that is AP Calculus is not going to help you discover your deep joy. Due respects for those who went through it. I see heads nodding. You get it. It's a people thing. It's an interactive thing. It's the ability to serve others, but to choose what your deep joy is that makes the difference. The great writer Jonathan Swift said, "May you live all the days of your life." All the days. Don't take a day off. Don't take a play off. It becomes a habit when you start to do that. So don't take a day off. Don't take a play off. And number two, discover your deep joy, because otherwise you're going to live someone else's life. And that's not a life worth living. No matter how well you might live that life, it's a life you need to be able to live, regardless of what you do. So thank you. It's been a delight talking to you and an honor to have been asked to do so. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's terrific. We so appreciate you taking the time to come out here and be part of this 50th anniversary celebration. Bonnie, now for the moment.
I'd like our committee to come on up, and they're going to help hand out the awards. I'll let them get up here so we know who we have. Bob? I want two of you come down here and two of you over here. First of all, we have Paula Bivens, and we have Bob Reeder, Richard Pavelka, and Gary Schuster Sr. And Don Apple couldn't be with us today. He had another a medical reason he couldn't be here. So, but wonderful committee. They worked very, very hard, and I'm very, very proud of them. So we're going to name our winners now. And as is pointed out to you, every single one is a winner. This is a very difficult thing for our committee to do, is to choose one. And as you can see, as we put in our program, the outstanding caliber of all the applicants, all the candidates. Your school thought you were number one, and that's why they presented you for this award. We think you're number one, most certainly worthy of everything that you've accomplished. May I congratulate you on behalf of the committee. So these are going to be read in no particular order. It's however I laid them out this morning. So first of all, from Anderson High School, Megan Moran. I'm going to pull the first. You might tear it in the middle and see if it'll come up. There you go. Congratulations, Megan. From Liberty Christian School, Solomon Truitt. Right down here. It's okay. From Elwood High School, Aaron Litherland. before we get too far, I want to remind you, we will take a group picture of all the candidates. We'll do it right up here when we finish, and John Cleary from the Herald Bulletin is here to take a lot of pictures, so don't leave. Yes, absolutely.
I forgot to mention my principal, David Rutherford, is here with me.
Busted.
As well as Rick Durham and Mike Baumholt.
Oh. You do want that diploma, right? Let's see, am I down here? Okay, from LaPel High School, Joseph Conrad. He is so tall. From Anderson Preparatory Academy, Megan Simmet. From Pendleton Heights High School, Kate Calger. From Frankton High School, Anna Sperry. And we're very proud to say we have another brother-sister act from Alexandria Monroe, Blaine Kelly. And hold on a minute. We have a few things for you here. Does she know? Huh? Does she know? Does she know?
You're the last one.
Yeah, come on around. Here. Okay. Can we have the athletic director and principal come up with Blaine? Mm-hmm. We have a few things to send home with her today. First of all, she has her award. We have our traveling trophy, which I will instruct them to be very careful of the glass top. But it's a very exciting thing to be able to put this. Well, I guess I could take the it's hard keeping all this a secret, you know? And a certificate. Thank you. Money for school. From the Anderson Noon Exchange Club, and then there's instructions how to contact the Herald Bulletin so you can get their scholarship. They matched it also, and a gift for you. We're very excited. Would you like to say anything? Sure.
I would just like to thank the Anderson Noon Exchange Club and the Herald Bulletin for doing all of this, and also my family, administrators, and teachers for believing in me, supporting me, and teaching me.
Well, that concludes everything now. Did you want to say? No? Oh, we'd love to have you. Yeah. Thank you.
If there was ever a kid that came into high school with more expectations because of her siblings, it was Blaine Kelly. Shanna and Blaze. Blaze was a winner here a couple years ago, but I think for probably most of her life she's been known as Shanna's sister or Blaze's sister. And so for her to meet those expectations and even exceed them, they are now Blaine's brother and sister after today. But obviously, Blaine is a great athlete, and she's a great student, but I've got to know her really well the last couple of years, and she's an even better person. She's going to have a lot of success in her life, so we're very proud of her.
Thank you.